There's a particular kind of discomfort that settles in when a story you've been watching from a distance suddenly gets very, very real. And right now, if you've been following anything connected to the Real Housewives of Miami orbit, if Lenny Hochstein has been a name on your radar for even a passing second, you already know that what's unfolding in June 2026 is not the kind of drama anyone wanted. This isn't reunion shade. This isn't a hot mic moment. This is something heavier. Something that makes you sit with it a little longer before you even know how to react. Let's start at the beginning because the timeline here matters more than people realize. Back in May 2025, a woman visiting Miami from London said she was approached by a man at Soper Club in Miami Beach. She claims he invited her to what he described as a private afterparty on Star Island. When she arrived, there was no party. Just Lenny Hochstein. Just his mansion. Just the two of them. And according to her lawsuit, what followed changed everything about her life. The woman alleges that Hochstein gave her a tour of the house that ended in his bedroom around 3 a.m. She claims he offered her a pill, described to her as a sleep aid. She says she trusted him because he's a doctor, but blacked out shortly after taking the pill. She didn't wake up until the next morning, at which point Lenny revealed to her that they had been intimate. Let that breathe for a second. She trusted him because he was a doctor. That detail, that specific detail, is the one that keeps pulling me back in. Because we've watched Lenny Hochstein navigate the RHOM world for years, and his whole brand, his entire public persona, was built on that physician authority. The boob god of Miami. The man with the scalpel and the Star Island address and the confidence of someone who has never once questioned whether people believe him. And now that very professional credibility is being weaponized in a lawsuit that alleges it was used against someone who came to his home in good faith. The Jane Doe is suing Hochstein for sexual battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The lawsuit was filed on June 5, 2026. And almost immediately after the story broke, something interesting happened. Lenny's legal team didn't go quiet. They came out swinging. TMZ obtained video that Hochstein's lawyer says was recorded shortly after the alleged incident, showing the woman leaving his Miami mansion smiling, chatting with him, and appearing completely at ease. In the footage, the woman allegedly does a little dance outside the front door before walking to an Uber. Here's where I need you to slow down with me, because this is the moment the internet started fracturing into camps, and I think both camps are moving too fast. Lenny's attorney, Lauren Berkeley, put out a statement that was carefully worded but clearly designed to shift the narrative. The video shows the plaintiff leaving Dr. Hochstein's home, smiling, speaking with him as she exits, briefly dancing outside the front door, and then voluntarily walking to an Uber, Berkeley claimed. And on the surface, if you watch that and you don't sit with the context, sure, it looks like a contradiction. But here's what the other side said. And this is important. The alleged victim's attorney, Tony Busby, disputes Hochstein's characterization of the evidence, telling TMZ he was already aware of the video and that it changes nothing. Busby says the footage does not show his client dancing and insists she will not be intimidated by what he describes as efforts to litigate the case in the media. Two lawyers. Same video. Two completely different descriptions of what's in it. That alone should tell you something about how carefully constructed every word of this legal battle is going to be. Because nobody is speaking loosely here. Every phrase is intentional. Every detail is chosen. And that makes the emotional fog around this story even thicker. Berkeley also points to what he describes as numerous text messages allegedly sent after the encounter, where the woman asks where Hochstein is going the following night and expresses interest in seeing him again. Lenny's team is framing these texts as evidence of a positive interaction. But Busby's counter is striking. He claims the texts actually show the woman was attempting to determine what substance she had allegedly been given. Think about that framing from the plaintiff's perspective for a second. If you woke up confused, disoriented, and trying to piece together what happened to you, wouldn't reaching back out to the person who gave you a pill make sense if you were trying to figure out what that pill was? That's not an indication of romantic interest. That could very easily be someone trying to get answers while still in shock. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not saying who's right. But that alternate read of the same text messages is something a lot of people online are glossing over because the "she texted him after" framing is so much simpler. And then there's the money angle. Before the lawsuit was filed, Berkeley claimed monetary demands for good faith settlement discussions were made in July 2025, nearly a year before the suit itself. Lenny's camp is pointing to that timeline as evidence of financial motivation. And some viewers started wondering if that framing holds weight, whether the sequence of events suggests something calculated on the accuser's part, or whether pre-suit settlement discussions are simply how legal cases involving trauma often begin, long before anything hits a courtroom. Here's where the RHOM connection makes this so layered and complicated for fans. Lenny Hochstein was never a full housewife. He was a husband, then an ex-husband, and his presence in that franchise was always filtered through Lisa's storyline. Lenny finalized his divorce from Lisa Hochstein in November 2024, 2 years after he initially filed. They share son Logan, 10, and daughter Elle, 6. And somewhere in that divorce chaos, in that messy overlap of a very public split that played out partly on Bravo, Lenny managed to remain a footnote that kept growing louder. People who watched Lisa go through those seasons, who watched her hold herself together under extraordinary public humiliation while Lenny moved on very publicly with model Katerina Mazepa, those viewers had opinions about Lenny Hochstein long before any lawsuit. Some of them had already written him off entirely. Some of them feel like this story confirms something they already believed. And that's exactly what makes the growing curiosity around this case so complicated, because people are not coming to this story fresh. They're coming to it with years of accumulated feelings about who Lenny Hochstein is as a person. Hochstein told Us Weekly, "I absolutely did not drug anyone. I did not rape anyone and would never do that in my life." He also added, "No one from the police has reached out to me." That last detail, that no police contact detail, that's interesting to me in a way I haven't seen a lot of people discussing. Because if there's been no criminal investigation initiated, that changes the immediate legal stakes. This is civil litigation, not a criminal charge. But civil cases carry their own weight, their own discovery process, their own potential for evidence to surface that neither side fully controls. And that's the part that nobody can predict right now. Discovery. What gets produced? What texts exist beyond what either lawyer is selectively describing? What the full video actually shows versus how it's being characterized. What the medical and forensic evidence looks like, if any exists from that May 2025 night. The moment sparked a kind of speculation online that feels different from normal reality TV chatter, heavier, more careful, more divided. Some people are firmly in the innocent until proven guilty camp, and not without reason. Others feel the specific details of the allegations, the after-party lure, the drug, the use of medical authority to justify the pill, paint a picture that's too structured to dismiss. What I keep coming back to is how this lands for Lisa Hochstein specifically. She spent the last few years rebuilding her image, her independence, her story, and even now, even after the divorce is finalized, Lenny's name drags her narrative back into his orbit. Whether she says anything publicly or stays quiet, there's no clean way out of being adjacent to this story when you share a last name, 2 children, and years of Bravo airtime with the man at the center of it. The trial, the evidence, the full truth of what happened on May 1, 2025, none of that is resolved. None of it is close to being resolved. And in the meantime, a woman is anonymous in a lawsuit, Lenny Hochstein is asserting his innocence through carefully managed legal statements, and the Bravo world that once made him a household name in Miami circles is watching in real time, unsure of what to believe. That discomfort from the opening? It hasn't lifted. It won't for a while. What do you think about where this case is headed? Do you believe the video and texts tell the story Lenny's team says they do? Or does the plaintiff's attorney's interpretation resonate more with you? Drop your read on this below. I want to know where you stand, and more importantly, I want to know what piece of this story you think isn't getting enough attention.